Good evening, everybody. Potato Chip, Potato Chip. I'm Erin McCall Cupp, author of a couple novels and stuff. And welcome to Sabbath Rest Book Talk. It's a once-a-month live video on, well, Facebook for now. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it on Facebook, but don't tell Mark Zuckerberg that. Where we talk about fiction's role in our personal development as human beings. About how fiction can be used to heal relationships, revitalize the mind, the heart, and soul. All the good things that stories do for us. We talk about that here at Sabbath Rest Book Talk. So thanks for joining me. I will make you a promise that this will be brief. It's something you can listen to with your kids because I think it was Carolyn Asphalt who gave me the phrase that as soon as you put a video on your phone, your kids like get drawn in like flies to poo. Sorry for the little bit of vulgarness there with the phrase, but Carolyn said it, not me. No, I'm just kidding. I say it to my kids all the time now because it's true. You put on a video, the kids show up. But what I talk about will always be something you can listen to in front of the kids. So there you go. Comment while we're live and I'll try to include it in the discussion. I'm trying to slow down this month a little bit more than I have in the past because, well, for a bunch of different reasons. 2 videos that I've done so far, I'm like, wow, I talk really fast, and that doesn't really help create a restful environment, especially for something called Sabbath Rest Book Talk. That's kind of pathetic. The other reason is I'm really tired. This is the first month that I've done. I mean, it's the 3rd month I've done this, but this is the first month, and I'm like, you know, maybe I can make an excuse and say I'm not going to do Sabbath Rest Book Talk this month. But I made a commitment, so I'm doing it. But I am not at my best. I am tired. I have 2 books launching this month. Plus, I am teaching. I'm starting my 2nd month of teaching 2 classes a week for homeschoolers. And it's taking more time than I was expecting it would to do my best work for my students. So, oh, by the way, at least one of them has subscribed to my YouTube. So, hi, student, you know who you are. See you tomorrow. Anyway, I've got Image and Likeness, an anthology of short literature reflective of the theology of the body, St. John Paul II's great teachings about human love, and that's coming out October 22nd, but even before that, this weekend, Nameless, book 2 in my Jane E. memoirs comes out. It is available for pre-order now, so if you'd like to go get that. That is on the older edge of the young adult genre, a young adult to adult. It's a little edgy, so if any of my students are watching this, talk to your parents. They can email me first, and we can talk about it if it's something that might be a good read for you. It's science fiction. It is a science fiction retelling of the story of Jane Eyre. I'm not saying this to brag, but I've had a couple people say they enjoyed it better than the Charlotte Bronte version. That might be because there's more like bioterror and computers in it. I don't know. Charlotte Bronte didn't really have to deal with iPhones. We'll put it that way. But anyway, I'm tired. I'm going to do my best to have a good discussion tonight, so bear with me. Tonight's theme is conflict. I like to say that fiction is how we humans work out ways to solve our problems. We write to solve a problem. We read and hear stories to solve a problem. Every time we see a movie or read a novel, we see how somebody resolves conflict or at least just deals with it in some way. That's what's wonderful about stories. It gives us tools for dealing with our own challenges in life, and that's what makes it so important to have story in your life. That's one of the reasons I want to do Sabbath Rest Book Talk, is to help us find ways to solve problems. And one of the problems that's been kind of weighing heavily on my heart lately. Hi, honey. My husband's joined us. One of the problems that has come up a lot and been weighing heavily on my heart is that not everybody's stories are being told, or at least if they're being told, they're not being heard. I'm in America, and we've got a lot of conflict between different, the term is racial groups, and it feels so awkward even saying that phrase, because race is almost like a construct. Like, sure, there's ethnic groups that, you know, your ancestors came from and everything, and we're supposed to be all loving on each other, and we fail that a lot, and we don't listen to each other. And one way of people not listening to each other is the publishing industry kind of shuts down different groups. They don't want to hear from writers of color. They don't want to hear from writers of faith. And that's okay. Maybe that's a great way to sell lots of books, sell volume, but it's also a great way to cut people off from learning all of the diverse ways that different cultural groups solve problems, solve conflict. And we're not doing ourselves any favors if we limit ourselves to just one kind of book, just one kind of story. If we only listen to stories that are written by people like us who face the exact same problems that we've had, we're cutting ourselves off from a lot of tools. So the one thing that is the same between all humans, no matter where your ancestors came from, no matter what color skin you have, we all have problems. Sometimes we are each other's problems. Most of the time we are each other's problems. But the thing that's different is each culture has different ways of approaching problems and solving conflicts, resolving conflict, facing conflict in different ways. And when we choose to read a diverse menu of fiction, of stories, we treat ourselves to all sorts of different ways of looking at a problem. That's why it's so important. We need a variety of voices in our lives. We need to see all the different ways that people approach their conflicts. So, I mean, I'm just a tiny little voice. That's why I make that little potato chip sound at the beginning of each Sabbath Rest book talk. It's because that's the sound that a little tiny goldfinch makes. We have little goldfinches in our area during the warm months, and they say potato chip, and there aren't many of them, but when they do show up, they're so beautiful to look at, and they're so pretty to hear. So they don't make a great volume, but they have something nice to say. So I'm just trying to be a little goldfinch here. So anyway, long story short, we need a variety of voices, and that's why tonight, I know, this is my third video, and I'm already bringing in nonfiction, but it's narrative nonfiction. So I want to give a special shout out to Ruby Bridges Goes to School by Ruby Bridges. It's the story of the first child who actively, I suppose, desegregated public schools in the United States. It happened in Louisiana, and it was a little first grader, and I have a first grader, so this really just tugged at my heartstrings, and it was nice because I could share it with her. It was Ruby Bridges' story as told by Ruby Bridges. Now she's a grown-up, and she had a problem when she was in first grade. She wanted to go to school and have friends at school. The problem was other people didn't want her to go to the school closest to us. And not to, is it spoilers to spoil something that's like general public knowledge? I don't know. But the solution was courage. The solution was not being comfortable. It was not about staying at the segregated school where nobody was going to challenge you, or the people who were mostly of European descent keeping everybody who was not of mostly European descent out of the school because that was more comfortable. The solution was everybody having courage. Poor little first grader Ruby had to have courage to go up those stairs through all those protesters with U.S. Marshals next to her, in front of her, behind her every day. And eventually, the other families whose children were at the school had to have the courage to say that their ideas might need to have another look taken at them. That takes a lot of courage too. It takes courage to stop protesting and to say that, okay, maybe I can try something different. It takes a lot of courage. So the solution to conflict with Ruby here, and with just about all of them, it's hardly ever being comfortable. The solution to conflict is courage. And Ruby Bridges shows our kids that. This is a nice little book in the second, the second level Scholastic Reader. So emerging readers can at least read some of the words. So if you've got a little first grader or second grader or whatever, I don't know, brilliant 2-year-old, whatever, that you can read this together, and it's a very nice story. I do recommend it. Now, the next book I want to talk about is the one I was reading as I was getting ready for talking tonight. The New Moon's Arms by Nalo Hopkinson. I want to talk really quickly about Nalo and what I learned from her. Oh gosh, years and years ago. I went to, I think it was PhilCon, so the Philadelphia Science Fiction Convention, and she was one of the guests there. She is a writer of Caribbean. Hey Carolyn! I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. If you watched earlier, I was talking about your the thing. I can't remember where I left my keys, but I remember the thing that you said one time about what a video, put a video on your phone and the kids are drawn to it like flies to poo. And I use that phrase all the time. So you're part of my lexicon now. Anyway, back to Nalo. At the time, I was writing Jane E. Friendless Orphan, the science fiction version of Jane Eyre. And people would ask me, oh, you're a writer, what do you write? And I would always say, well, I realize this isn't very feminine, but I write science fiction. And everybody's like, oh, no, that's okay, blah, 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 blah. Hey, Donna, how are you? Anyway, so I went to this convention where Nailah Hopkinson was one of the speakers. And I'll never forget, there was this woman there about my age, so 20-ish. You know, she had brown skin and dreadlocks and was wearing overalls because, you know, it was very early 2000s, maybe even late 90s. Oh, no, it was 2000s. Anyway, and somebody said something, and just off the top of her head, she started to quote the very first line of Neuromancer by William Gibson, which is a very geeky, it's considered the first cyberpunk novel. And I remember, like, when I was reading Neuromancer on the train, I was kind of hiding it behind, like, I don't know, a newspaper or a Jane Austen novel or something like that, because I was embarrassed to be reading a science fiction novel, a cyberpunk novel, you know, this big, chunky, you know, girl kind of thing. And when I saw her, that she didn't care what people thought about how she looked and what she was supposed to be reading based on how she looked and what she was supposed to be writing, because she writes like urban fantasy with sort of supernatural element to it. That's what she was writing then. Now she still writes like Caribbean fiction with like a supernatural element to it. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, if she can just be that, then why am I apologizing for being a girl who writes science fiction? So I realized the chances, Nalo, of you ever actually saying this are like slim to none, and Slim just left town. Thank you for being who you are, because it gave me the courage to be who I was called to be. So that was really awesome. Anyway, I'm just got out of the library, New Moon's Arms by Nailah Hopkinson. And so I can't like officially endorse it. It is an adult book. It's not for kids. There's some harsh language in there. There's some adult situations, that kind of thing. But, oh my goodness, the language is so beautiful. And it's not like, as the grammar stickler that I am, it's not like perfectly grammatical, but you get the music and the beauty of the language and the descriptions of what you see and the humor of the situations. I mean, it starts, the first scene is at a funeral where I'm assuming I got the sense it was an old lady. Her pants fell down under her skirt. It's just crazy. It's really funny. Anyway, I believe so far, I'm only, you know, yay far in. The conflict seems to be about how getting old, how the passage of time changes things. I don't know what the solution is yet, but it is really enjoyable. I'm enjoying reading it, so I recommend that you take a look at it. And I'm curious to see how the conflict plays out, because I'm really it is definitely a page turner. Even with how busy I am, I've already read this since Wednesday, so that's maybe not an endorsement, but a shout out for the writing. So there you go. There's New Moon's Arms. The New Moon's Arms. All right, so the next one. So I've talked about two secular books by women writers of color. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go over to The Well by Stephanie Landsem. Hi, Stephanie, if you ever get to see this. I love this book because I read it in a day. See how thick it is? I read it in a day, and it was a day that was like, it was Sunday, so it was church day, because even then I was doing Sabbath rest with books, with fiction. And I had forgotten that I had put on all sorts of eye makeup, and I just sobbing by the end. I looked like the Winter Soldier. all just black all over my face, just a mess. It was a mess. It was so beautiful. But the conflict is a girl's life is ruined by her mother's choices. And with family and love and sacrifice, she moves away from that, as you know, trying to find comfort in her situation, to finding the courage to face her situation. Jesus makes an appearance. It's the story of the woman of it's the story of the woman, the Samaritan woman at the well, but told basically it's not first person, it's third person, the point of view of her daughter who has had to suffer from her mother's choices for all these years. And you might be thinking, ugh, Jesus fiction, Christian, don't want to read it. I only read secular books. I only read secular novels. Well, you know how before I said that if you only limit yourself to reading fiction from people who are just like you, and you're not a Christian, and you say, oh, I don't read Christian books, then you are doing the exact same thing that Christians who only read Christian books do. So there's your challenge. If you want to start with something that's Christian but has like a hardcore edge to it, like a truthiness, not truthiness, that's a fake word that Stephen Colbert makes fun of, like a juicy, edgy, gritty, sharp knife kind of truth to it, I recommend The Well. There are lots of other books that fall under that category, but The Well, yeah, go with it. I like it. Stephanie does a great job with all three of those books in the Living Water series. Stephanie Landsem, The Well. Last but not least, we're going to do one of my family's favorites. Well, I don't know if it's my family's favorites, it's one of my favorites. Owl Babies by Martin Waddell. It is the story of a family of adorable, fluffy little baby owls who have a problem. Their problem is that they are alone and helpless. So their conflict is that their mother is gone. They don't know where she is. And they need to figure out how to get through not having their mother there. And so they face their conflict. Their solution is, I mean, it seems kind of fantastical, but their solution is that they wish their mother home. And wishing in our culture, we're kind of taught is useless. It's a waste of time. But if you think about it, when you wish, yay, my family does love owl babies. Yay, owl babies. Where was I? When you make a wish, you are stating your problem and you are facing that it is a problem. And it takes courage to make a wish. Because when you make a wish, you're sort of admitting that it might not come true. You're facing your fears. So that's one of the many reasons I love Owl Babies. The illustrations are just beautiful, but they're not like corny beautiful. They're just, you know, I think he uses like a grand total of 3 colors for the illustrations, but they just come to life, and the little owls with their little eyes are so cute, and they're little. You see, we've got 3 baby owls, and each one takes their own way to deal with the fact that their mother is gone. So it's a very sweet book. It's a great read aloud. And it again shows kids that the problem that you have, the solution, is never in finding comfort. It's always in finding courage. So, big shout out to Owl Babies. All right, so that's it for our actual book talk. If you have any questions, comment now. New Moon's Arms by Nalo Hopkinson. Ruby Bridges Goes to School by none other than Ruby Bridges. Again, that one's nonfiction, but it's told in a narrative style, so it does follow the path of, hey, Nana! That's my Stas for anybody who's read my book. Don't you forget about me. The Well by Stephanie Landsem. And also, the whole Living Water series by Stephanie Landsem is just brilliant and heartbreaking and bittersweet and lovely. Angsty. I know Nada is like always kind of like doesn't love the angst quite as much as I don't know. Is that true, Nada? Do you think? I'm like looking at your avatar here on my phone, which is a little silly. Anyway, and Owl Babies. So those are our books. As usual, here's your homework for the week. Pick one day each week where you will rest and read fiction on that day. No how-to manuals, no self-improvement books, no technical manuals. Just read fiction that day. Rest and read fiction. If you're Christian, Sunday is like your big stinking, hey, Ronnie, how are you? Anyway, if you're Christian, Sunday's your big stinking day to sit down, relax, and read some fiction. I guess if you're Jewish, it would be Saturday. If you are none of the above, pick a day and read some fiction. Get some of that, problem solving into your soul and enjoy it. And see how that, changes how you see things and how you empathize with other people. And then let me know how that stretched out your ability to, take a look at your problems. If you already, here's the thing. If you already read fiction once a week, at least, then my homework for you is to pick a book that is not in your usual genre, or at least by a writer who is new to you, different from what you usually read. And then email me. You can find that on my webpage, my email address. Here we've got, it's going to come up backwards. Sorry, guys. emccollcup@gmail.com. You can comment here on this video and we can talk about it. Comment anywhere on my author page on Facebook. And then my webpage is erinmccollcup.com. You can just pop in there. I will be linking up with Carolyn Astfalk's open book. That's going to come out on Wednesday. So if you go to carolynastfalk.com and then click on anything with the tag open book, you'll bring up the most recent open book blog posts. And you can get all sorts of wonderful recommendations for what to read next. I mean, honestly, I don't know many people who don't have a ridiculously long to be read list, but if you're like me and you're always looking for reasons to make that list a little longer, here's your chance. Go to Carolyn Astfalk's open book. That's at carolynastfalk.com. Any other questions, comments, points of discussion? All right, in that case, I'm going to see you. It's actually going to be the last Sunday of this month, October. And hopefully by then, maybe you have had a chance to pick up Image and Likeness, literary reflections on the theology of the body. That is, that's coming out October 22nd. I have 2 short stories in there. There's a total of, I think, 21 pieces in there, short stories and poems. Oh, so if you are looking to add more fiction into your life, but you don't have time to sit through a whole novel, short story collections or literary collections are a great way to go. An Image and Likeness might be a good fit for you. Also, what is it? Saturday. I should really know the day that my book drops. Yeah, I should, but I don't. Like I said, getting really tired. Anyway, thanks, guys. Have a great week. Nameless, book 2 in the Memoirs of Jane E. Friendless Orphan. That comes out Friday or Saturday. It's on pre-order now. It's an ebook. You can find it through my webpage. Thanks. Potato chip, potato chip. Have a great night. Bye-bye.